Save the World is a new series that I'm starting on my channel right now. Yesterday on Twitter, I ended up putting out a tweet which absolutely blew up. I kind of wasn't expecting it to do so. I ended up putting out a tweet that said, considering starting a series called Save the World. In this series, I discuss a variety of different topics and offer constructive criticism and fixes for the certain issues that we talk about. What would be one of the first things that you'd like me to tackle in a video? This tweet got like 30 retweets, 550 likes, and like 300 responses in the span of less than a day. So I guess you guys want me to do it, so that's what we're doing today. So basically, a little bit of a rundown of what Save the World is that it's going to be a series completely focused around Fortnite Save the World, and it's going to cover a variety of topics spanning from anything related to the game, and me offering constructive criticism, feedback, as well as solutions to certain problems that we talk about. We could have a video discussing bugs that have existed in the game for a very long time now. We could have a video talking about the Mythic Storm King and ways to improve it. We could have a video talking about just we could have a video talking about how Epic Games hasn't even tweeted about Save the World on the Fortnite Twitter account for over half a year now. We can talk about literally anything in this series, and I plan to do so and use it as a way to give feedback to Epic Games. With this series, I am not trying to be negative in any way. I'm not trying to absolutely bash the game. The entire purpose of this series is to try and give and pretty much just document any feedback and any kind of, opinions about certain topics concerning this game as a means of, everyone in the community being able to get involved, and Epic Games being able to take a look at the things that we talk about, and just everything like that. I know that this is going to span to Reddit, and it's going to span to Twitter, and obviously the comment section is going to have some pretty big conversations. I hope that this series as a whole turns into something that can document all of our feedback and constructive criticism and thoughts on different situations and topics surrounding Save the World, and hopefully by the end of it end up bettering the game. Now, in today's episode, we're going to be talking about something along the lines of content versus filler, and what content means and what filler means. Now, I was going to save this series for when Season 13 dropped, but I thought that it was a good idea to discuss with you guys before the new season comes out, as what we as a community decide what content is and what filler content is. And that's basically the entire topic for today's video. If you guys want to suggest any kind of topics for me to talk about, you can hit the comments down below. You can tweet me on Twitter. You can email me. I don't suggest you email me because I don't check it too often, but you can do something. And of course, I want you guys talking in the comments down below about what we talk about every single episode, because my opinion isn't always right. It's not the end all be all. You guys have a voice too, and it's important that we all talk about these, topics together. And that's what my hope is for the series as a whole. That's my explanation for the series. Let's go and get into it, and let's talk about what we're going to talk about today in episode 1. Alrighty boys, welcome to episode 1 of Save the World. In today's episode, I want to talk to you guys about content versus filler. And I know that a lot of you guys that are watching this are probably wondering, what exactly does this have to do with Save the World? Well, given how Season 12 ended up panning out, and now that we have Season 13 on the horizon, I think that it's very important for us as the community to decide what we view as important and what we view as trivial or a little bit less important. Given what we had in Season 12, and given the community's reaction to Season 12, there's been a lot of discussion about content and what the community views as content. And I hope that this video can help remedy that, and us as a community can really come to an agreement here on what exactly we think is important for the game, so that we can let Epic Games know, hey, this is what we want, this is what we want you to focus on. Taking a look back at Season 12, just for an example's sake, there's a reason that a lot of people stopped playing around this time. We got new weapons, new heroes, of course we got a new llama, and new fetch quest lines. Aside from that, we ended up getting a recycled event, which was Cram Session, a recycled game mode, which was Dungeons, and a recycled quest line, which was Blockbuster. If you guys don't know, that was from Season 4. The reason a lot of people ended up quitting around this time, at least temporarily, is because there's nothing to do. Having new heroes, having new weapons, and having fetch quest lines isn't going to make people want to stick around and continue playing, at least if you've already been playing for quite some time now. In today's video, I want to go over what exactly I view as filler content and what exactly I view as substantial content, so that hopefully we as a community can come to an agreement and decide, hey, this is what we want Epic Games, work more on this and a little bit less on that. So I want to go ahead and start off with a bit of filler content and what exactly I think it is. Filler content, of course, is the type of content that a development team will come out with to kind of tide the, player base over while they work on something a little bit bigger in the background. This, of course, is done a lot with games like Destiny. Very recently, Destiny had a new season called Season of Arrivals. An example of filler content in this situation would be the new public event known as Contact, where basically it takes the public event idea that Destiny is known for and taking a game mode that already exists known as Gambit and using this to kind of mix and mash a lot of the assets that the game already has to create something quote-unquote new and something that can kind of fill in the gaps while Bungie works on something a bit bigger, which is going to be their Beyond Light expansion. That, of course, is what filler content is, and I'm not saying that filler content shouldn't exist, but what I do feel is that the Save the World team nearly always only focuses on filler content and nothing else. If you think about how long the game has been around, think about how many quest lines have existed before the Twine Peaks quest line has existed. If you think about the new Hexylvania zone known as the Swamp, or the Haunted Mansion that was made, or the Pirate Biome, all of those different zones were made for temporary content that you can only play around a certain time, whereas they could have used that time in development for something like, oh, I don't know, the Twine Peaks biome that has gone pretty much undeveloped for over 1,000 days now. I think that filler content is something that's very important for a game to have to tide the player base over while important stuff is on the horizon, but I feel as though the Save the World team has put way too much effort into stuff that really doesn't matter at the end of the day, and I think it's up to us as a community to say, hey, we don't want this, or we want less of this, and would rather you guys focus on the important stuff and just keep us up to date on how it's coming along. So I want to go ahead and talk about what I think is filler content in this game and what I think Epic Games should actually be working on, or at least putting more effort into instead of what they're doing now. Now, I know for a lot of newer players this might seem a bit controversial, but I'm going to list off everything that I view as filler and completely unimportant in the grand scheme of things. New llamas, which will then include new heroes and new weapons, as well as new fetch quest lines. Now, I as a content creator absolutely love when new llamas come out. I get tens of thousands of views on my videos because people want to see what's in the new llamas. It is great for me as a content creator. But I just don't care that much. Having new heroes and having new weapons doesn't help this game in the grand scheme of things. Having a new hero to play my 1,000th mission in a row on doesn't make me go, oh yeah, I want to invest another 200 hours in this game. Using one different assault rifle doesn't make me want to go, yeah, I'm going to invest into this game for another 3 weeks because this assault rifle is all I need. No, weapons and heroes just are not content. They are simply a way for us to play content that already exists. What good is new heroes and new weapons if there's nothing really challenging or anything new for us to use those heroes and weapons in? We're only using the new heroes and weapons in missions that have existed for nearly 3 years now. It's a very repetitive thing that Epic Games could remedy if they were to take their resources and put them into something more important. Whenever it comes to fetch quest lines, I don't want to sit here and bash on people that play the game for the storyline. I think that Epic Games definitely should keep coming out with these things, but they put a little bit too much effort into them. At the end of the day, fetch quest lines are just loading into a mission that you would already have played, holding the interact button on a bunch of random items all over the place, and listening to voice lines. That is what fetch quests are at the end of the day, and having them come out so frequently is just so annoying to me. You can just go to Stonewood and you can place a base on the actual objective and just let that kill the husk while you walk around and pick things up. That is not content. That is just boring. I don't like it. I don't think it's good for the game. And if you're gonna make so many quest lines, focus it on Twine Peaks. Stop making all these quest lines that don't matter and end up not even being replayable at the end of the day. Just put your effort somewhere where it matters. Now, I want to talk about what I view as substantial content. Of course, we went over new llamas, heroes, weapons, and fetch quest lines really just don't matter that much, yet Epic Games puts a lot of effort into these things specifically. What could Epic Games do instead and allocate their resources to make the game a bit better? That's what I want to talk about right now. New husks, mist monsters, and bosses. The last boss we got was half a year ago. It was Mythic Storm King. I know it's a little bit reskin, but it was challenging, it's fun, and it's still used and played by many players today as a really good encounter. New mist monsters. We have never had a new mist monster. We've had a new design for a mist monster, but we've never had a new one. And new husks, Epic Games did good on this one. They implemented the nurse husk not that long ago, so I kind of give them a little bit of a slide there. But having new enemies is something great for the game. It changes up the flow of gameplay, it makes things look a little bit fresh with some new faces in the crowd, and it just kind of spices things up for a change. Next up, new biomes to explore. Stop putting your resources into biomes that just aren't played by the player base except for once per year or just once at all. Go ahead and make yourselves the Twine Peaks biome instead of focusing on stuff like Hexylvania, which only comes around annually, and the Pirate biome, which you've only played once thus far. The Haunted Mansion as well can go along with Fortnitemares. Just stop putting so much resources into stuff that doesn't matter. You have 4 main zones in your game. Please develop them. We don't need stuff like this right now. We need more important things like Twine Peaks to go ahead and get completed, and then you can focus on the side things, because that will be the cherry on top of the cake. I don't know why Epic Games is putting so much effort into temporary biomes, whereas a permanent biome where people have been playing in for multiple years now still looks like Stonewood, still looks like Plankerton, and still looks like Canny Valley. It doesn't make any sense for the base game to be so incomplete, but Epic Games putting so much of a focus on content that is temporary. Moving on from this, new mission types. This is a great source of substantial content, as a lot of people view Save the World as repetitive. A lot of us have been playing the exact same mission type since the game first came out, and we haven't really seen too much variety. The game plays the exact way in Twine Peaks than it does in Stonewood, the only difference being the amount of husks that end up spawning, and I think that it's a problem. Twine Peaks, or at least the upper half of the actual campaign, should get some new mission types. I've seen tons of concepts from people on Reddit and tons of feedback that could really work well in the game, and I feel like if Epic Games were to put the time in, they could actually make themselves a really fresh new gameplay loop, and it would be fantastic for the community. Moving on from this, new team perks. I know that I said that I don't think heroes and weapons are content, but team perks absolutely change the way that we play the game. Just look at Blast from the Past, Totally Rockin' Out, and Happy Holidays. These go beyond just using one other assault rifle in a mission. It changes the way that you build your loadouts and end up playing the game, and new team perks are a definite easy way to keep the gameplay fresh. Moving on from this, new traps. Traps just, they change everything. You've seen how the broadside has affected the game. You've seen how the tar pits have affected the game. They absolutely change the way that people build and the way that they go about things, especially in in-game content. I think that new traps would be an absolute great way to freshen up the game, and we've seen it time and time again. Now, moving on from this, new weapon types. Even though I don't think that weapons in general are necessarily content, at the end of the day, a shotgun is going to function like a shotgun. Having new weapon types that are completely different would go definitely much further. Having something like a spike gauntlet, or gauntlets that could shoot lasers out of them, flamethrowers, or dual swords, or anything like that, they would definitely freshen up gameplay in general and go much further than just using another sniper that functions just like every other sniper. Moving on from this, quest lines. And I'm not talking about fetch quests, I'm talking about quest lines. Now, one of the closest examples to an actual quest line would be something like Blockbuster. I know that at the end of the day, Blockbuster is very similar in the sense that you do a lot of fetch questing. However, there are a lot of very unique missions that are within Blockbuster, stuff like the giant meteor and getting Carbide's suit. Stuff like that is an actual quest line where you engage the player instead of having them run the same missions that they would normally do and just hold square on different items. Having actual quest lines is a great way to get the player more so involved than just playing the regular missions, and a great quest line to start off with would be the Twine Peaks quest line. Now, moving on from this, I actually have a pretty big thing that I want to touch on, and that is new and interesting mission modifiers. This is something that Epic Games has never really touched on outside of war games, where they have stuff like UFO invasions and tornadoes and all these crazy things that end up happening. why are they only in war games and why have they not been expanded upon? In war games, they're not really as big of a deal because most people have their SSDs built to either autocomplete themselves or they just don't really play it much at all. But implementing these into the base game missions or creating a new alert, something like a simulation alert, where they end up having stuff like UFOs and everything like that, maybe increased rewards as well, would be really awesome. I mean, I don't see why not. Having UFOs flying through the sky in a base game mission would be way cooler than a defense that I've already had built for a few months now. Being able to actually have that in a regular mission would seem so much cooler, and this is something that a lot of the player base thought would actually happen when it first came out, but Epic Games never expanded upon it. I would love to see more new mission modifiers, not only in the game, but in the base game missions as well, as I think it would really freshen up the flow of gameplay. Now, aside from that, I have a pretty basic one that I want to end off on, and that is grindy content. Whenever it comes to Save the World is a grindy game. It's a little bit less grindy than what it used to be, but there's plenty of stuff to grind for. Grinding yourself to Plankerton, then Canny, then Twine Peaks, grinding yourself to Commander level 350, grinding yourself to power level 122 for the Mythic Storm King, and grinding yourself to do all of your SSDs and blah blah blah. You know, there's a lot of different things for you to grind for. But as an in-game player, there is nothing for you to grind for. See, grind is a great thing to have in a video game. I know a lot of people act like they don't like it, but having grind is what keeps you playing the game. But you have to have a good reward at the end of it. Whenever you are progressing through the game, you always have something to push towards. You know, oh, I want to be able to craft Sunbeam. I want to be able to make mythic weapons. I want to be able to get, you know, the endurance banners, don't say it, or anything like that, right? As an in-game player, you have nothing to grind for. There is absolutely nothing for you to do except for your challenges like 1,000 play with others, but like I just said, a grind isn't good unless there's a good reward for it. Getting a banner is not a good reward, therefore it's not a good grind. Yeah, you can level your collection book up, but the best thing you're gonna get from it is flux. There needs to be a grind for in-game players that is prevalent after they have completed everything. Something like the commander level system not capping out at 350 and instead going up and up and up and allowing you to progress XP levels or something like that. I'll probably have an entire episode dedicated to this, but in-game players are leaving the game in droves because they have nothing to do. I would definitely touch on this sometime later. The entire purpose of this video was just as I talked about at the beginning. Us as a community needs to decide what we view is important. Is it going to be begging Epic Games for new llamas, heroes, weapons, and quest lines, or is it going to be asking Epic Games to kind of put a little bit of a halt on those things and focus on some stuff that's more important? As we've seen time and time again with the dev team, they have put more effort into temporary content than they have permanent content, and we as a community need to let them know, hey, this isn't what we need right now. You should focus on more important things. So yeah, guys, I hope that this made for a good episode 1 of Save the World, and I have plenty of them to come in the future. Let me know what you guys think down in the comments down below. Let me know what you guys want me to cover in the next episode, and I'll see you guys next time.